I'm Judy Jackson, and I'm sitting in my purple office. Come on in, I'd love to show it to you, but I also want to have you over for a coffee. Of course, I can't do that, so I'm going to do the next best thing. I'm going to show you something delicious to eat with a coffee, and here it is. These are called butter whirls. They are like puff pastry, but much easier. They are slightly cakey, they are truly delicious, and they're not that difficult. So what I want you to do is start thinking of who you would like to invite, and then let's just get started and make them. Here they are.
Here's what you need: self-raising flour, icing sugar, ordinary granulated sugar, milk, butter and raisins. Here are the utensils, all obvious, but the most important one is the palette knife. For the pastry, start with 8 ounces, 225 grams of self-raising flour, 5 ounces, 140 grams of soft unsalted butter. Cut off 2 ounces, 50 grams of the butter and start with your fingers to rub it into the flour. It'll take 2 or 3 minutes till the butter starts to disappear and you won't see it at all. This is what you're aiming at, to have a nice, smooth, floury mixture. Now you're ready to start adding 5 fluid ounces, 150 ml of milk. Do it a little at a time. Don't pour it all in at once. The idea is to make a nice, smooth mixture. Put a little flour on the board and on your hands, and then lift out the pastry and start to form it into a ball. Cover the pastry with a sheet of cling film. This is to stop it sticking to the rolling pin. Then take the palette knife and slide it underneath the corners with a little bit of flour as well to make sure the pastry is not sticking to the board. Carry on rolling it until you have a nice long piece. Then remove the cling film, and if there's any sticky parts, add a tiny bit of flour onto them, not a lot. You're going to spread the butter over the top 2/3 of this pastry. Now, although I said it should be soft, you absolutely don't want it melting because you want to keep the pastry cool. Now you're going to lift up the bottom and fold over the top, and putting a little bit more flour on the board, form it into a nice shape, cover it again with the cling film and roll it into a neat long rectangle. Spread the remaining butter nicely softened all over it, and then sprinkle over about 2 ounces of granulated sugar, a few tablespoons. I'm using vanilla sugar here. Then on top of that, I'm sprinkling a few spoonfuls of raisins. When you've done that, you're ready to begin rolling it up. Push a little bit of flour underneath as you do this so it doesn't stick, and then form it into a nice, neat roll. Cut it into fairly thick slices and arrange them on a baking sheet covered with baking paper, with a bit of distance in between and the raisins showing on top. Bake in a preheated oven, 180 centigrade, 350 Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes. Sift some icing sugar, 2 ounces, 50 grams, through a strainer, and then add a tiny bit of water. Don't add too much. When the butter whirls have cooled, you can start icing them. I started doing mine when they were still a bit warm, so I'm redoing some of them. All I'm doing is drizzling the icing over them, or if you don't want to do this, you can just get a brush and brush some on instead. Whatever you do, they're still going to taste great, and I really hope you enjoy them.